The race for the US election has tightened. The polls are neck and neck and the chaos has already started. And it has fueled wall-to-wall coverage in the media less than a week out from the election.
There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there.
For anyone who didn't realise, that was a comedian making a joke. Instead, it was being made to seem like Trump himself made the comments. And at first, it seemed like a win for the Harris camp. That was until the old guy the Democrats left to run the country weighed in.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
What a babbling old fool, demonising a large subset of the American population during such a tense election. And the media couldn't cover this one up either, although some tried. Jeff Bezos' propaganda outlet, The Washington Post, thought it was all a grammatical mishap. Did Biden call Trump supporters garbage? Comes down to an apostrophe. Republicans have long strained for a new Hillary Clinton deplorables moment, but Biden's defence is entirely plausible. Basically, this insane argument was that Biden was only referring to the comedian as garbage. They argue he meant to say Trump supportive apostrophe S as in the singular. Now, just to be clear, that's not what he said or meant, and anyone attempting to push this line is completely compromised. And this is why people are losing faith in these big American media institutions. Many of them just lie, and people aren't stupid. And the media is running this protection for Biden to impact the election. These journalists know how damaging it was when Hillary Clinton alienated a massive subset of the American population as racist, sexist, and a bunch of deplorables.
You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up.
Well, she lost that election, so it turns out that attacking voters with divisive and hateful language isn't a great tactic. Now, Biden is reportedly being frozen out of the Harris campaign, but the damage might already be done. Well, joining me on the show this week is the Australian's media writer Sophie Ellsworth and Sky News contributor Louise Roberts. Louise, let's start with you. I mean, this whole the garbage scandal, which started off being an arguable win for the Harris campaign, even though it wasn't Trump saying it, which they're not comparable. But for Biden then to seize on that, it's a massive mistake. I think it's going to impact how people vote.
Yeah, I would agree completely. I think he's a real gift to the Republicans, Biden, again, as well. And they tried also, I noticed the LA Times tried to make a tenuous link between Trump making comments about America being the dumping ground of the world, trying to suggest that he also calls people garbage. But what he was referencing then was...
Did they really?
Yes, they did, was illegal immigration as well. But the fact that he came out in the garbage truck, you know, supporting these so-called garbage people, and, you know, he's been defending American voters, and he says anyone who leads the country has to love Americans, and clearly they don't. So he encapsulated, I feel, the mood of the nation on it, and it's going to backfire on them terribly next week.
Yeah, really interesting. And Sophie, you know, the Washington Post, it's a major newspaper. It's supposed to be a credible outlet. For them to try and muddy the waters and suggest that Joe Biden didn't say what we all heard he said, it's pretty shameless stuff, isn't it?
Well, the Washington Post is really trying to defend him because it appears that it is concerned President Trump could win next week's election. But should I say the presidential candidate Trump could win next week's election. But Jack, this was incredibly damaging moment for Joe Biden and the Democrats, and one that I believe will harm them severely come next week, and one that surely Kamala Harris is trying to walk away from. I mean, Joe Biden has barely been around during this campaign period, and when he does stick his head up and speak, we all hear it, and it's often things that the Democrats don't want to hear. I think what he did say about Republican voters being garbage is incredibly offensive, and one that I think will hurt the Democrats.